I need a mother for my daughters. And you need shelter. His voice cuts through the sound of the rain. The motorcycle pulls over to the side of the road, its headlight illuminating an empty, cold road. He, Jack, a man with a hard gaze and a weary soul. She, Emily, trembling with a torn backpack in his hands and fear etched on his face. For a moment, the silence between the two speaks louder than 1,000 words. He doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know where she's going. But fate already knew. At that moment, something would change forever. Jack, he was the kind of man that time couldn't break, but also never managed to heal. 3 years since he lost his wife in a motorcycle accident. From then on, his life revolved around two things: the road and his daughters. Lily, 8 years old, and Sophie, out of 5. He did what he could. He worked repairing motorcycles during the day and making deliveries at night. But what really hurt was going home and hearing the sound of silence where there had once been laughter. Emily, on the other hand, carried a past that he preferred to forget. Rejected by her own family, she had run away without looking back. Without a destination, without a home, and with a secret that weighed more than their own luggage. That cold night, when the rain fell hardest, she believed she had reached the end of the road. But fate, stubborn as it is, put it in place. Jack right in front of him, and nothing would ever be the same after that. Jack hesitated for a moment. He looked at the soaked young woman and, without much thought, held out his coat. "Go inside. You'll catch pneumonia out there." Emily watched him suspiciously. He was tall, with a firm voice, but there was something different in his gaze. It wasn't a threat. It was loneliness. The drive home was silent. The sound of the engine and the rain was all that could be heard. When they arrived, the door creaked, and the smell of stale coffee and grease filled the air. The house was simple, but there were photos on the walls. A smiling woman, 2 girls with ribbons in their hair. Emily realized that this place had history and pain. Jack's daughters, Lily and Sophie, curious people, appeared in the hallway. "Daddy, who is she?" asked the little girl, holding a worn-out teddy bear. Jack simply replied, "A friend. We'll be staying for a while." In the following days, Emily's presence began to change the rhythm of the house. She helped with chores, cooked, and told bedtime stories. The girls adored her. They laughed again, played in the yard, filled the air with the sound that Jack thought he had lost forever. And gradually, something within him also began to change. Sometimes he would find himself watching Emily through the window, seeing how she bent down to tie Lily's shoelace, or how her smile seemed to bring life to that sleepy home. But along with the affection came fear. Jack still carried the past like an open scar. And Emily, well, she was still hiding something. There were nights when she would wake up startled, crying softly, as if fleeing from memories that no one else could see. Even so, between silent glances and small gestures, the two began to build something. Not an immediate romance, but a rare peace, like someone who finds shelter after years in the storm. Weeks passed, and the routine at Jack's house began to settle down. For the first time in years, there was laughter at breakfast, the smell of cake baking in the oven, and a lightness he had almost forgotten. But fate never restores peace without first testing the heart. One night, Jack woke up to the sound of muffled crying. He crossed the corridor and saw Emily sitting on the balcony, trembling, her face hidden in her hands. As he approached, she quickly wiped away her tears. "Nightmares?" he asked. "Something like that," she replied, avoiding eye contact. Jack wanted to insist, but something in her voice said it was better to wait. In the following days, small signs began to appear. Emily avoided the phone. "I used to have panic attacks when I heard the sound of engines on the road." One afternoon, while tidying the girls' room, Jack found a small photograph lying between the sheets. An old, yellowed photo showing a serious-looking man next to a motorcycle. On the back, a name, Daniel Cooper. Jack's heart raced. That name, he had heard it before. He was the man who, according to police records, he was involved in the accident that took his wife's life. An accident that, until today, he believed had been caused by recklessness, and which left him burdened with a hatred he could never let go of. That night, anger and confusion consumed him. Emily noticed his distant gaze, his silence at the table, but she didn't know why. Then Jack, on impulse, asked, "Who is Daniel Cooper to you?" Her face turned pale. "My father." Time stood still. The plate fell from his hand. the sound of the breaking glass echoing like thunder inside the house. Lily and Sophie looked on, startled and confused. Jack felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. Everything he had built, his confidence, his calm, his hope, crumbled in seconds. "You lied to me?" he shouted. Emily was crying. "I didn't lie. I just didn't know how to say it. My father tried to help that woman, Jack. He tried to break, he tried to swerve, but nobody wanted to listen. He died days later, taking the blame alone. But Jack was blinded by old pain. Do you think I'm going to believe that? Do you think I'm going to let someone with her blood under my roof?" Emily simply lowered her head. "I understand. I just wanted a place to start over." And without looking back, she grabbed her backpack and left, under the same rain that had brought them together. The house once again fell silent, but now the silence was not one of loneliness. It was a time of regret. And deep down, Jack knew the heart he had closed forever had just broken again. The following days were long, silent, and heavy. Jack tried to stick to his routine, work, girls, the road, but the emptiness inside him grew. Every corner of the house reminded her of Emily, the smell of the coffee she made in the morning, the story she told herself before bedtime, the way Lily and Sophie laughed when she braided their hair. The innocent daughters began to ask questions. "Dad, when is Emily coming back?" Jack didn't know what to answer. She just kept saying that she needed to sort some things out. But at night, when silence enveloped the house, he wondered if the problem wasn't him. One afternoon, while tidying up the garage, Jack found a small box that Emily had left behind. Inside, there was a notebook, some old photos, and a folded letter with his name handwritten on it. He hesitated before opening it, but something pushed him. The handwriting was shaky, sincere. "Jack, I never meant to hurt you. I didn't choose what happened, but I chose to stay because I found something here that I never had. A home." My father always blamed himself for the accident. He tried to save the woman who was on the road, but the truck behind couldn't stop. I grew up hearing about his remorse. "Perhaps destiny brought me to you to end this pain for both of us. I thank you for letting me feel, even if only for a short time, what it's like to have a family." The words burned in Jack's chest. He sat on the garage floor, his hands covering his face, and cried for the first time in years. Not because of the past, but because of the present that I was letting slip away. Later, he found one last photo hidden at the bottom of the box. It was a picture of Emily, Lily, and Sophie playing in the backyard, smiling in the sun. Behind the photo, a phrase written in pencil. "Sometimes life returns love in ways we least expect." Jack understood. Hate did not bring peace. It only kept the doors locked from the inside. And perhaps for the first time, he was ready to open up. That night, he looked at his sleeping daughters and made a decision. He grabbed his jacket, his motorcycle keys, and with his heart pounding like it hadn't in a long time, he set off down the road, determined to find Emily, no matter what it took. The rain started falling again, but this time he wasn't running away from her. He walked through it, as one who understands that some storms only exist to clear the path. The road seemed endless. The rain fell lightly, reflecting the city lights on the wet asphalt. Jack drove non-stop, guided only by regret and the hope that it wasn't too late yet. After hours, he spotted a small old building with a rusty sign swaying at the entrance. Hope Shelter. Shelter of Hope. He turned off the motorcycle, took a deep breath, and went inside. Inside, the smell of hot soup and the murmur of voices welcomed those who had nothing left. And among those people, there she was, Emily. Wearing an apron, she knelt before a crying child, wiping away its tears with the same gentleness she used with Lily and Sophie. She didn't see him come in. Jack stood still for a moment, just watching. That was the shelter she needed, but also the love he couldn't keep. When she finally got closer, Emily turned around, surprised. Their eyes met, filled with everything that had been left unsaid. Jack tried to speak, but his voice failed him. Then he repeated the phrase that one day changed everything. "I still need a mother for my daughters, and maybe you still need a home." Silence fell over the shelter. Emily took a deep breath and tears began to stream down her face. But this time it wasn't fear. It was relief. Outside, the rain stopped. The sun began to pierce through the clouds, casting a beam of light upon them. The doors opened, and running amidst laughter, Lily and Sophie, they appeared. The girls had come with a neighbor following their father. When they saw Emily, they shouted her name and threw themselves into her arms. Jack, his eyes brimming with tears, knelt before them. And for the first time, since the loss of his wife, he felt peace. Emily looked at him and whispered, "Perhaps destiny didn't bring us together by chance." He smiled. "No, I think it was the only way for life to give back what it took." The camera, or the narrator's gaze, slowly pulls away. They are embracing, surrounded by children, the shelter behind them illuminated by the setting sun. And the voiceover concludes softly with emotion. "Sometimes love doesn't arrive when we ask for it. He arrives when we need him most, disguised as shelter, forgiveness, and a new beginning." What if it were you? If I were in Jack's place, could you forgive the past to have a new chance at love? Or would you let pride get the better of you and watch happiness slip away again? Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in his place? If this story moved you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes that everyone deserves a fresh start. And before leaving, click on the video that's appearing on the screen, because perhaps the next story is exactly what your heart needs to heart today.